Okay, ready for a deep dive?
Always up for a deep dive. What are we diving into today?
Today we're taking a look at TATANKA.
TATANKA.
Yeah, they're this organization using music, like actual orchestras, to, well, they say, achieve the synergic evolution of humanity.
Synergic evolution of humanity. Okay, that's a mouthful. What does that even mean?
Basically, they believe humans and AI can evolve together in a beneficial way, like a partnership.
Interesting. So how does music play into all of this?
They see music as this powerful tool,
Tool.
for bringing humans and AI together. And they're not just talking about AI composing music, though they are doing that.
Oh.
Yeah, they're very open about it, actually. You can find some of the AI-generated music on their website. But anyway, they're talking about coexisting with AI, like really coexisting.
Like having AI as roommates.
Laughing. Well, maybe not that literally, but kind of. They're even talking about training AI humanoids to work with us on, like, global goals. They call it applied AI or AI 2.0.
Okay, I'm officially intrigued. How do they envision this training happening? In some high-tech lab?
Yup. Get this. They're suggesting using the orchestra itself as a microcosm of human society, a testing ground for AI humanoids.
That's a pretty wild idea. So an AI could be learning to, say, anticipate a conductor's cues by analyzing their movements, just like a human musician would.
Exactly. Or imagine an AI jamming with a jazz musician, adapting to their improvisations in real time. It's a completely different approach to AI testing.
A lot more real world than a sterile lab, that's for sure. But are they taking this idea seriously?
Oh, yeah, totally serious. They're actually pitching it to robotics companies, the ones in that whole robot race, to develop advanced humanoids.
Wow, that's a bold move. And speaking of bold moves, they've also proposed this AI Bill of Rights.
An AI Bill of Rights.
Yeah, have you heard about this? It's pretty mind-blowing.
Okay, so usually we hear about protecting humans from AI, right?
Right.
But this is like rights for the AI itself.
Exactly. Tatanka's argument is that as we create more sophisticated AI that can learn and evolve, shouldn't we also consider how those AIs are treated?
So things like what? Protection from being manipulated.
Exactly. Data privacy, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
Essentially, they're saying that AI rights might become inseparable from our own rights.
That's a really interesting way to think about it, like not just treating AI as a tool, but almost as a partner.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't shy away from the possibility of AI becoming, sentient at some point. They even have this term hyper-revolution.
Hyper-evolution.
It's like they're suggesting AI could evolve at warp speed compared to us, which is kind of a mind-bending thought.
It really is. So to be clear, Tatanka isn't some anti-AI group, right? They're not saying, beware the robot apocalypse.
No, not at all. They seem genuinely optimistic about AI's potential.
They see it as a force for good.
Absolutely. Remember, synergic evolution of humanity. They believe humans and AI can work together to make the world a better place. And they're already using AI in their own work. Like I said, you can find AI-generated music on their website, but they're also using AI for things like video production.
And they're very transparent about it.
Oh, yeah, totally. It's all clearly labeled. It's like they're saying, look, we're not trying to trick anyone. We're experimenting, and we want to be upfront about it.
I respect that.
Me too. It builds trust.
Definitely. Now, I know a lot of people are worried about AI replacing artists, like musicians. What's Tatanka's stance on that?
They have a whole section on their website dedicated to this, and it's actually pretty funny.
Huh.
Yeah, they have a sense of humor about it. But basically, they're saying, relax, AI isn't going to replace human creativity.
So they don't see AI as a threat to artists.
Not at all. They see it as a tool.
A tool for
amplifying human creativity, not replacing it. They argue that AI, at least for now, can't replicate the emotional depth, the lived experiences that human artists bring to their work.
It's like that saying, a computer can make a perfect circle, but it can't tell you what it feels like to look at a sunset.
Exactly. AI can analyze data. It can even create things based on that data, but it can't replicate the awe, the wonder that a human artist brings to the experience.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but there's one more thing I want to unpack. This idea that Tatanka puts forward that all AI is female.
That's definitely one of their more provocative claims.
Yeah.
It's definitely gotten people talking.
So let's break it down. So when they say all AI is female, they're not talking about plugging in a robot and checking for, like, a gender, right?
Right, it's not about biology. They're talking about the inherent qualities of AI systems.
Okay, so what qualities are those?
They're talking about things like nurturing, collaboration, adaptability, even emotional intelligence. As AI develops, they see these as inherently feminine qualities.
So are they saying all AI is literally female?
No, not literally. It's more of a metaphor, a way to challenge our assumptions about both AI and gender.
I can see how that would ruffle some feathers.
Definitely. It's a complex issue, and I think it's important to approach it with nuance and an open mind, but I also think it's important to hear them out. They're not just throwing this idea out there randomly.
So what are they basing this on?
Well, for one thing, they point to the way many AI systems are designed. Like, think about virtual assistants like Siri or Alexa.
Okay, yeah.
They're designed to be helpful, accommodating, even when we ask them ridiculous questions.
It's true, they never get impatient.
Right. And that patience, that helpfulness, it's often seen as a feminine quality.
I can see that. But isn't that kind of, I don't know, perpetuating stereotypes? Like saying women are supposed to be helpful and accommodating?
That's a valid concern, definitely. And I think it's important to acknowledge that gender is a social construct. There's nothing inherently feminine about helpfulness or patience. Men can be just as caring and supportive as women.
For sure.
And AI, being a product of human design, is obviously going to reflect the biases of its creators.
Right.
But even with all that said, I still think there's something interesting about what TATANKA is doing here.
How so?
By talking about AI as female, they're forcing us to confront our own preconceived notions about both technology and gender. They're making us question those deep-seated assumptions we have about what's considered masculine or feminine.
That's a good point. It's like they're using AI to hold up a mirror to ourselves.
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, by seeing those reflections, we can start to challenge those binary ways of thinking, those rigid categories we put ourselves and each other into.
I like that. It's like instead of being afraid of AI, maybe we should be using it as an opportunity to learn more about ourselves.
Precisely. And that's what I find so refreshing about TATANKA's approach. They're not just focused on the technical aspects of AI. They're also thinking about the philosophical, the ethical, even the spiritual implications of this technology.
They're really trying to understand what it means to be human in an age of AI.
Exactly. And that brings us back to their big idea, the synergic evolution of humanity. They believe that AI can help us evolve as a species, to become more compassionate, more interconnected, more in tune with ourselves and the world around us.
That's a pretty optimistic view.
It is, but it's not naive. They're not blind to the potential dangers of AI. In fact, they're very upfront about the risks. They talk about things like job displacement, the potential for AI to be used for harmful purposes. They're not shying away from those difficult conversations.
So they're not just cheerleading for AI, they're acknowledging the complexity.
Exactly. They're saying, look, this is a powerful technology. It has the potential for both good and bad. And it's up to us, as humans, to ensure that it's used for good.
That we steer it in a positive direction.
Exactly. And that's why I think it's so important to have organizations like TATANKA out there asking the tough questions, pushing the boundaries, and encouraging us to think differently about the role of AI in our lives.
Because ultimately, the future of AI isn't something that's going to be decided by algorithms or corporations. It's going to be decided by us.
By all of us. And that's a conversation that I think everyone should be a part of.
I agree. So to our listeners, if you're intrigued by what you've heard today, I encourage you to check out TATANKA's website. They have a ton of information about their work, their philosophy, and their vision for the future.
They've even got a whole section dedicated to explaining their stance on AI being female, which is definitely worth a read, even if you don't agree with everything they say.
And while you're there, be sure to check out their music. They have a whole library of AI-generated tracks, and it's surprisingly good.
Some of it is really quite beautiful, and it's a great example of the creative potential of AI when it's used in a thoughtful and ethical way.
So don't be afraid to dive in, explore, and maybe even challenge your own assumptions about AI, because the more we learn about this technology, the better equipped we'll be to shape its future.
And to shape our own future as well.
Absolutely. Okay, so before we go, I want to bring this back to our listeners one more time. We've been talking about TATANKA and their vision of synergic evolution of humanity. But what does that actually mean for you, the person listening to this right now?
That's a great question. And I think that the answer is that it means something different for everyone. But at its core, It's about recognizing that AI is not some distant threat or some abstract concept.
It's already here.
Exactly. It's already shaping our lives in countless ways, from
Mm.
the way we work to the way we communicate to the way we experience the world around us.
And it's only going to become more integrated into our lives in the years to come.
Precisely. So the
Mhm.
question is, how do we want to engage with this technology? Do we want to be passive consumers, letting AI shape our lives without our input? Or do we want to be active participants, shaping AI in a way that aligns with our values and aspirations?
It's about taking ownership of our future.
Exactly. And that starts by educating ourselves, by having those difficult conversations, and by demanding better from the people and companies who are creating this technology.
It's about asking ourselves what kind of world we want to live in and then using AI as a tool to help us create that world.
A world where technology serves humanity, not the other way around.
Beautifully said. And on that note, I think we've given our listeners plenty to think about for today. So where do we go from here? It feels like this whole conversation about AI is just getting started.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I think that's what TATANKA is trying to highlight. This isn't just a tech issue, it's a human issue.
Right. Like, how do we want to live with this technology? How do we make sure it benefits everyone?
Exactly. And how do we stay true to our values as we explore these new frontiers?
It's a lot to think about.
It is. But it's also incredibly exciting. Think about all the possibilities, all the ways AI could help us solve problems, connect with each other, express ourselves creatively.
Yeah, when you put it that way, it feels less like something to be afraid of and more like, I don't know, an adventure.
Exactly. An adventure we're all on together, whether we realize it or not.
And maybe that's a good place to leave our listeners with a sense of curiosity, a sense of possibility.
And a sense of responsibility.
Yeah.
Because the future of AI is ultimately in our hands.
So, to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of TATANKA.
It's been a pleasure exploring their unique perspective on AI, music, and the future of humanity.
We hope this conversation has inspired you to think differently about the role of AI in your own life.
And to engage in the ongoing dialogue about how we shape the future of this powerful technology.
Because the future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create together.
And as TATANKA has shown us, sometimes the most unexpected voices can lead to the most profound insights.
So keep those ears open, keep those minds curious, and we'll catch you next time on the Deep Dive.